What's up guys, Spin Firearms here, and nowadays we live in one of the greatest eras for handguns there is. The options are unlimited, the brands are unlimited, there's all these smaller companies coming out making handguns, and there's all sorts of features that are coming on pistols nowadays for everyday carry. So today we're going to talk a little bit about ported firearms as well as compensated firearms, what I prefer, should you have that, and so on. But before we get started, hit the like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe. Tell me your thoughts on ported versus compensated handguns for everyday carry. First off, we're going to talk about this Glock 43 right here. Just finished up this build, absolutely love it. Now, if you're obsessed with capacity and triggers and all that, this probably isn't the video for you because it's a regular Glock trigger, and on top of that, it's only 8+1. And then a couple of the other firearms that we're going to touch on here are also low capacity, but we're going to get into why I still like that. Anyways, this Glock 43 right here. The Glock 43 is one of the most solid handguns there is. You can slip in almost any pocket. It's very light. You can get mag guts and make it 8+1 for a total of 9 rounds. You can throw a little TLR6 on there and you have a little sweet, awesome setup right here. Very light, very easy to carry, very easy to conceal, and very easy to shoot. But one of the greatest things are ported barrels and ported slides. Now, I prefer ported barrels and slides for everyday carry. And that's within reason, right? For smaller handguns that tend to shoot a little bit more snappy, or larger caliber handguns that are a little bit more snappy and have more power to them, I think ports are crucial. Especially for women that everyday carry, ports can be a massive thing for them. And the reason why I love the Glock 43 ported is, like I said, 8+1, that's a solid setup. The Glock 43 is a great shooter. But when you add a ported barrel and slide like this one has, you're reducing recoil by about 30%. So imagine 9mm out of this little small handgun that some people would say snappy, and they're reducing it by 30%. Man, are the follow-up shots fast, man is it smooth as can be, and it's reliable. But the greatest thing about ports is you're adding 0 length to the firearm. Here's a great example of where ports really come in handy. You don't need ports, you don't need a compensator at all. But in this case, this is a single stack, shield 40 in 40. And this one came this way, so I didn't have to buy anything or anything like that, but I bought this handgun used for $300. As you can see, still to this day, very little wear and tear, very little, and it's all been put on for me. Now obviously, my guess is someone shot it and said, oh, it's a 40, it's a little too snappy. I love it. I love 40, I love 357 SIG, I love 10mm, I love 45. They're amazing rounds. Then you throw this ported barrel and slide on here, and man, is this thing a flat, smooth shooter. And even though it's only 7+1 of 40 with mag guts, it's still a great shooter. If I can get 7+1 off reliably, ported, fast, I'm going to be good to go. And once again, just like the 43, this is a little bit bigger, but this will fit in almost any pocket, and almost anybody in the world can conceal this handgun very easily. It's very light, and it's got a lot of power. If you guys know me, my everyday carry for work is not ported, but it is a Smith & Wesson M&P 40 Shield chain run 357 SIG. That 357 SIG round kicks much harder than this 40 because of the ports. They're very comparable, very similar in recoil and snappiness, but when you shoot the ported version, man is this thing smooth. It is clean, it's smooth, and it almost shoots like you're shooting a 9mm. So instead of 9mm, you're getting a 40, but the recoil of a 9mm. Now, like I said, people always get on me about capacity. Guys, I carry this with the flush mag, and that's 5+1 of 45. So this thing's a tack driver though, so I'm so on point with this thing, so accurate, and it's just an awesome, awesome shooting handgun. Now, as you guys have seen, a lot of people are going to compensators, right? And there's a major reason why I don't like compensators, which we're going to get into. One, they are very, very expensive for what they are, right? You are reducing recoil, and this one actually is probably my favorite compensator. This is a backup tactical compensator and barrel, and this thing legit reduces recoil, this 9mm round, by about 40 to 50%. This is one of the best compensators I've ever used, and that's why this thing is my range toy. This is my fun, you know, just let's go mag dump, let's go drop some rounds down range and just shoot fast and have a blast. Because this is about the flattest shooting setup I own. Shoots better than any of my larger handguns, any of my heavier handguns. It's probably the best shooting setup I have. But there is a downside. You're adding about 1.5 inches for a compensator. And I know they have all these micro compensators and stuff like that now, but think about it. even if it's coming out to here, you're adding a 1/2 inch. And that may not seem like a lot, but once again, here we go. Holsters. What would you do for holsters in this case? Well, maybe this would fit a Glock 19 or a Glock 17 holster, probably a Glock 17 holster, but now you're adding all that length, an extra inch minimum, to your holster, and that's going to make you a little bit more uncomfortable. On top of that, compensators sometimes become loose. They unscrew themselves and so on. So that's just another issue. But in my opinion, it is not worth it for that extra inch and a half just for that recoil reduction. I think ports are a much smarter decision, because if you have a Glock 43 that's regular, you swap out the barrel, you swap out the slide, you literally can use your same holster. If you get your handgun and you put a specific compensator on it, what holster do I use now? Chances are, if you're not using the best of the best compensator brands, or the most popular brands I should say, chances are you're not going to find a lot of holster options that are meant for that specific design with that compensator. So that is what I found to be the major issue. If you know me, I like small handguns. I shoot them really well. I have zero problems getting targets, or getting on target and shooting fast. But in my opinion, neither are necessary, but ports are the way to go. But once again, you got to think about this. In order to get the Performance Center shield, like for instance the Shield Plus, in order to get the Performance Center version, you're going to pay at least an extra $150. I just got lucky by finding this used, and the fact that it's in 40, no one wants it. But it's going to cost you about an extra $100, $150, maybe even $200. For this setup right here, you're now looking at about $400 extra for the slide and barrel. And I know it's a little ridiculous. I have my reasons why I did that to this, which we'll get into in another video. But is it worth it? I don't know. This was sort of me helping out someone. They were looking to get rid of their slide and barrel for the Glock 43, and then they were going to sell the regular OEM 43. So I tried helping them out, buy it off of them, and you know, they got some money, and you know, I got a cool little setup, even though it was unnecessary. I shot the Glock 43 just fine. Just wanted to help him out. So yes, this is a used slide. He had about 250 rounds through it when I got it, so pretty flawless still. There's a little couple dings, couple marks here and there, not a big deal. It functions flawlessly. So what do I recommend? I recommend just a regular everyday carry handgun, because not a lot of options come ported right away from the factory nowadays. But if I had to choose between ports and compensators, go with ports. Go with the X Macro. Go with the Shield Performance Center. For the extra $100 to $200, I do think it's worth it for recoil reduction if that's going to be your main carry. But if you have multiple firearms and you're changing out all the time with the way you dress and where you're going and so on, I don't think it's absolutely necessary. I don't. I think a lot of stuff that we buy into nowadays is purely hype, right? We see these YouTube videos. That's what I like about my channel. I get paid by no company. There's not one company that pays me a single cent. Therefore, I can come in here and tell you what's hype, what's not hype, what you need, what you don't need, in my opinion. And in my opinion, you don't need any of that stuff. Buying the X Macro Tac Ops without the ports is just fine. You're still getting good capacity, still very shootable, has a good trigger on it, and so on. Just like this. I love my 357 SIG shield that has more recoil than this. I shoot it just fine. I'm fast with it, no worries. The ports do help a lot. Now, one thing I would say is if you have bad hands, and an example of bad hands are these right here. I got a messed up pinky, as you can see. That's spray foam. That won't come off for a week and a half. But my fingers are all messed up from plumbing and working. They're sore all the time. Plus, I had double wrist surgery. As you can see, the scars. And ports actually do help out when you're having one of those bad days. If you're like me, you'll wake up on a Saturday morning to go to the range, and you're like, oh my goodness, my hands are just... they're not feeling good today after that work week. They're just a mess. I love shooting simple, soft stuff. And an example of that would be this Glock 43. This is a joy to shoot. It's almost like shooting my Glock 42. It's almost like shooting my LCP, like my LCP Max. It's just a great option when you want something to help out with recoil and the overall feel of your hands. Not necessary, but definitely an awesome, awesome option. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.